My name is Hannah, and this is my no-buy year. Hey y'all, so I just a couple of nights ago went through my makeup and did a little light decluttering. I am actually partway through a true hardcore declutter series where I go category by category with my makeup and seriously, carefully, intentionally make sure that I'm only keeping things that I either truly love or that I want to pan. And for that series, I'm filming each category separately. So I've already done my lipstick declutter and my glosses and balms. I think that's all that I've managed to do so far. And I'm doing like overhead filming, the whole gig, the works. This isn't that. For this declutter, I just went through, I did go through all of my makeup. I did consider each item, but I didn't work super hard to come to Jesus with absolutely every single thing. Instead, I just was looking for things that I thought that I could easily part with. And this is sort of the motivation for this whole project, this whole video, things that I would like to pass along to my cousins or my sister, or at least give them a chance to go through and decide if they would like any of this stuff. I'm heading home for the holidays pretty soon, out to North Carolina, and I'm gonna see my two young cousins and my sister. My sister's just a couple years younger than I am. My cousins are one in high school and one in college, and all of them aren't really deeply into makeup at all. They don't really buy makeup for themselves, but I think that all of them will enjoy playing with some of this stuff and getting to know it if they have the chance. So it was motivating for me to go through my collection and think, who's going to get more joy out of this? Or will I get more joy out of passing this along than I would get out of keeping it? And just a little side note about decluttering with the intention of gifting, it can sometimes be dangerous. There's actually a section in the Marie Kondo book about not passing your problems along to your family members. I think that it's one thing to get a whole bunch of stuff that you really don't want anymore that's kind of like trash to you, and then instead of recycling it or responsibly donating it, just giving it en masse to your sister or somebody and being like, here, I thought you might want this stuff. Essentially kind of like passing your problem along. I'm a little bit wary of that, and I've actually been trying not to do that, even though I've been doing some decluttering this year. I'm trying to take responsibility for the things that I'm decluttering and be intentional about what I pass along to certain people. But in this case, these are nice things. These are things that have made it through a couple of rounds of decluttering before in my past, and they're things that I really had to think about whether or not I wanted to keep. But knowing that I'll be taking this box to my sister and my cousins and giving them a chance to adopt them and use them and enjoy them motivated me to be willing to part with them, basically, and to feel good about parting with them, and then consequently good about paring down my collection. I am going to continue the declutter series, and for example, there are some blushes in here in this box. I am going to do a full blush declutter next year, and I'm sure that there are some blushes that I decided to keep during this kind of shotgun declutter that won't make it through my intensive blush declutter. So this isn't the final word on what I'm decluttering in all of these categories. This is just a quick little pass through my makeup collection and a group of things that I'm going to be taking home to share with the women in my family, and I thought I would hop on here and film a quick little declutter video to let you guys know what I'm deciding to part with and why, and just to keep you updated on the state of my makeup collection. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. No particular order, I'm just going to be reaching into the box. I decided to pass along this little Nars single. I really like this eyeshadow. It's Himalaya, I believe. It's not Himalaya, which is what I always thought, Himalaya. It's like a shiny mauve, pale taupey mauve, and it's really beautiful. It is one of my favorite colors for eyeshadow, and because of that, I have a lot of eyeshadows in this color. I have a lot of singles in this color. I have it in a lot of palettes, and it's been hard for me to part with this just because it's so sweet, the packaging's so lovely. I'm a sucker for Nars packaging. I really like Nars eyeshadows, but I just haven't been using it because I really like reaching for my palettes of singles, and so there are colors very similar to this. There's one actually exactly like this, a Colourpop shadow, I think it's called Dragonfly, that I use all the time. And then this one, which is very similar to that, is just languishing in my very small drawer of loose single eyeshadows. I really love single eyeshadows, but I just find that loose single eyeshadows I'm unlikely to reach for. And this is like baked into the packaging. It can be depotted. However, this is something that I feel like a college student or a high school student, someone just getting into makeup, would really, really like, because you can easily take it with you. It's simple. It's a perfect all over lid shade. You can apply it easily with your finger, just sort of dab, 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 swipe and go. My first eyeshadow that I wore regularly in college was a color really similar to this in like a little single pan. And I just think that this is a perfect thing to give to one of my cousins. So I'm excited that I have gotten some clarity on that and that I'll be passing it along. I'm going to do a little swatch for you. I'll try to swatch things as I'm going along. So that's what it is. You can see it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's something that is in no way unique to my collection. In a similar vein, I am going to see if my cousins or my sister would like to adopt either of these two Colourpop Super Shock shadows. So this one's in Desert and this one's in Reversible. They are both really lovely sheeny neutrals, and I believe Desert, I think it might be discontinued, but I remember Mariah Leonard talking about this as being kind of the perfect shade to make your lids look a little bit dewy and sort of damp and sheeny without it looking like there's really anything on your lids. And when I watched her video saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, I have that eyeshadow. And I went and immediately put it on my lids, and then I remembered why I never wear it, which is that it just looks really orange on me. So on me, and this might sound a little crazy because this one's kind of purple, this one would be more neutral and just be more like a natural sheen on my lids than this one. When I put Desert on, it really just looks orange. And I have so many warm browns and so many kind of oranges that I reach for less frequently among all of my regular powder shadows that this one is just not getting any love. And then Reversible is more gold. It's along the same lines, but it's more gold. So it's the one that I actually had been using in that way. And I actually have a little bit of pan on this one. But again, I've fallen so in love with using my single shadows, and I have single shadows that are in this kind of neutral, warmy gold color. And this is also quite warm on me. It ends up looking kind of orangey yellow gold. And if I'm going to reach for kind of an all over lid shade, I'm going to go for something a little cooler. So even still, this isn't quite my preference. And the size of this, I know this sounds a little bit odd because it's not a gigantic thing. It's not like a big chunky palette, but the size of this does not make it worth it to store it, given how unlikely I feel I am to continue using it. I've gotten some good use out of it though, obviously, but I think that perhaps one of my cousins could get the rest of the way use out of it. I decided to part with my Bare Minerals A Little Sun, and I shopped my stash for this earlier in the year, and then when I did the next Shop My Stash video, I gave my full reaction to it. It is super gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. I'll try to insert, I actually did post an Instagram picture that was a close-up of my face while I was wearing this. It is such a beautiful product, and it's such a beautiful color on my coloring. One of my cousins has my exact coloring, very fair, red hair, and I think this would be amazing for her. And she also has very sensitive skin, and I think Bare Minerals will be a good fit for her. I just have so many other blush products that are almost exactly this color, and I discovered that when I shopped my stash, when I did that. And again, it's like this loose, separate, chunky thing when I have this color in so many single blush pans and so many blush palettes. It's just taking up more space in my collection than a blush of this color needs to take up for me at this point. And I think that my cousin will love it. So it's going to North Carolina. Another blush, similar situation. So this is Wet n Wild Color Icon. I'm almost positive that this is the color Mellow Wine. I'm not going to swatch that Bare Minerals because it's so messy. When you open it up, it kind of floofs everywhere. And I actually took pains to clean these items because I'm going to be gifting them, so it doesn't feel worth it to open it right now. But there's Mellow Wine. As some of you might know if you've watched my Products I Hit Pan On video, Wet n Wild Apricot in the middle is one of my all-time favorite blushes. It's actually most of what I have on my cheeks today. I topped it with a little bit of Givenchy Aficionado Peach, but most of what I'm using kind of as like a bronzer and contour today is Wet n Wild Apricot in the middle. So I've been panning this blush. I mean, I'm gonna pan it, I'm gonna use it up, and then I'm gonna miss it, and I will likely buy it again because that's really become one of my main blushes. And for that reason, Mellow Wine just isn't getting as much love, although it is very beautiful. And I have another blush recently acquired that was sent to me in a gift package from a subscriber. Thank you, Courtney. It's this one right here. It's the Ofra blush in Winter Rose Glow, I believe is what it's called. This one right here. And I've been using this a lot and I really, really like it. And when I was looking at this and considering whether or not to pass it along to one of my family members, I actually went and swatched it next to the Ofra blush. And they're not exactly the same, as you can see, but especially when they're buffed out, they're close enough that I feel like I would never reach for Mellow Wine at this point over the Ofra blush Winter Rose Glow. So I'm very happy to kind of pass this along. I think it's a gorgeous formula. I think it's a beautiful color. And I just have something that I like a little bit more that's almost the same that I've been using a lot. So that made it easy for me to decide. Another blush, this is Tarte Partey. I also had this in a Shop My Stash, and after I had finished wearing it for a couple of weeks, I think I might have even said in the review video for that Shop My Stash that I felt like it might be on the chopping block, just because it's supposed to be a neutral, but it's a very pink neutral, and pink blushes just aren't my jam. They just aren't my favorite. It is beautiful and it is relatively neutral. I just don't love it. I don't love it. And I think this formula and this little compact and this color could be just an absolute gem to my cousin who's in high school, for example. Here's one that I found rather interesting. I was a little bit surprised that I decided to part with it. It's the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Powder. This is the only one that I have, this kind of famous Wet n Wild highlighter that is really good. I mean, I think it does merit the praise that it gets from people, especially because it's a drugstore item, and it's really nice to have a brilliant blinding highlighter available at the drugstore. So this is, I believe, the shade Blossom Glow. I always get Petals, Precious Petals, and Blossom Glow mixed up with each other, but this is the slightly darker one. It's a little more pink and with a strong gold flip instead of being more kind of like an icy lighter pink. I think that Precious Petals is the icy lighter one and this is Blossom Glow, but I could be getting that mixed up. I'm sorry. Here it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful highlighter. The thing that made me decide to pass it along is partly that it's a beautiful highlighter and I'm going to be excited to give it to my cousin, but I've also been experimenting lately with some of the other highlighters in my Nars Board de Plage palette. So the really, really pale one, which is Ravage, the one that's the right color for my skin tone, the right color for me, has pan on it, and I use it all the time and I really, really love it. These other three are a little more golden, and so they do kind of show up as a color on me, almost like a highlighting blush. And there's one of them, I guess it's this one called Creek, that one right there, that is exactly the same color and has the same gold flip as the Wet n Wild one. So I don't know how well you can see it right there, but in person, the color and the undertone and the general impression are exactly the same, but the formula is ever so slightly different. The Nars one is just a little bit more baked, a little smoother, and kind of a little subtler and shinier rather than being that like creamy, blinding highlight that the Wet n Wild one is. And this Nars highlighting formula is one of my favorite formulas. I absolutely prefer it to the Wet n Wild one. I'm a little shy of that Wet n Wild one just because it is so creamy and blinding and the buildup is so intense. And so I feel like if I ever miss it, I can just reach for the one in the Nars palette, but I don't think that I'll ever miss it. This little Colourpop duo, I'm going to give someone else the chance to adopt. So it's supposed to be a bronzer and highlight or a blush and highlight. I'm not really sure. It's not available anymore, I don't think. and I'm not even sure what this one was called. Was it the Knockout? I think this one might have been called the Knockout. It doesn't say on the packaging, but it's one of these duos that Colourpop released last year or something. This is a really lovely highlighter, and the highlighter is the reason that I've continued to hang on to this. The blush, bronzer, whatever it is really, really orange on me, and in kind of an unflattering way. I mean, I'm wearing a relatively orange blush look today, but it's an orange that I feel goes with my skin and with my je ne sais quoi. This always looked a little bit like a grubby, dank orange on me, and after shopping my stash for it and trying to make it work a couple times, I stopped reaching for this, and I haven't worn that again all year. So here's that. Yeah, you can see it's kind of like a brown orange, but again, I tend to like brown undertones in blush products. I don't know what it is about this that doesn't work for me. It might even be the formula. And then there is that stunning highlight. The reason that I'm able to bring myself to part with that highlight is that I own, where is it? I have a single of Colourpop Here Kitty Kitty, which is the same formula as this, the same incredibly creamy, wonderful, super intense kind of layering highlight. And Here Kitty Kitty is just a better match for my skin. It's lighter and it's less gold, less peach. So the other one, I don't know again how well you can see this, but the one that I swatched from the little duo is much peacher. It's actually a lot more like the Wet n Wild one and the Nars one that I swatched. And then Here Kitty Kitty, which is one of my favorite highlighters, it's just a little bit paler. It's a little bit more pale. It's a little bit more like my nude, right? It's like the nude of my skin. And again, I think this is in good shape and it's very adoptable, so I'm excited to pass it on. I have just two products left, and they're both from Glossier. One is my Glossier lip gloss. I actually shopped my stash for this in my most recent Shop My Stash, which was maybe a couple months ago at this point. I haven't stopped doing that series. I just have let it kind of fall by the wayside, and I am going to start it up again in January, and I will go back and review the things that I shopped my stash for in my last Shop My Stash video. And this was one of them, but at that time I will have passed this along to someone else. I just find it so goopy and chemically isn't the right word, artificial. I just feel like it's more than other makeup products. It just feels like a tube of petroleum slime. I just don't like wearing it. I feel like I'm putting something very, very plastic onto my lips, and I haven't been reaching for it. I also feel like the crystalline nature of it makes my lips look a little bit kind of light and pale. I don't love the look of it as much as other people do, and I don't love the look of it as much as I love the look of other lip glosses that I have owned and that I still currently own. It is like halfway done though. I've made a serious effort and I've used up quite a bit of it. So I'm just gonna see if anyone wants to try it, if anyone wants it. And then lastly, I'm going to part with one of my two Glossier Cloud paints. The other one I have is Dusk, and I absolutely love this color. It's probably my favorite liquid blush. I really, really like Dusk, but I don't reach for these as much as I reach for powder blushes, especially not right now. I just have found them to seem a little bit more inconvenient, and maybe I've just been extra busy. I just have noticed that I haven't been wearing them as much as I thought I would when I bought them. And I do really like the formula. It just hasn't felt #worth it lately, reaching for these cream products. I think I will probably fall back in love with Dusk at some point in the future and reach for it a lot. I think I'll probably go through phases of love with this one. I wouldn't happily part with it. But Beam, which is this more orange one that I have, there's Beam, and it's more of like a peachy coral orange. It's really, really pretty, but I just think if I'm gonna want that color, I'm going to be happy reaching for a powder blush. And the other thing that motivated me to part with one of these cloud paints is that I wanted to get one for one of my cousins for Christmas, my younger cousin. I was ordering her the Glossier Stretch Concealer because she really loves that. I gave it to her a year ago or two, and she asked for a replenishment of that product as a Christmas gift. And when I was placing the order from Glossier, I put one of these into the shopping cart. I was like, oh, I bet she would really love this cloud paint in the color Beam because it would look beautiful on her skin tone. It's very natural looking, it's very chic, it's fresh, it's youthful. And I put it in the shopping cart, and then I was like, wait a second, I have an almost full tube of Beam that I am definitely not going to get full use out of, that I might actually never reach for again. So why don't I just clean this up and give it to her on the side instead of purchasing a whole new one for her? I think that she will be perfectly happy with this one. Hey guys, it's me like 10 minutes later after having finished filming the video that you are currently watching. I'm wearing a different outfit because I'm about to film another video. But when I sat down to film my other video, I looked into my box and I realized that there was something that I had forgotten to talk about when I was filming the first video, and that is this Bite Beauty Amuse Bouche lipstick in the color Beetroot. This is a gorgeous lipstick, and that is why I have had a hard time bringing myself to part with it until now. It doesn't look good on me. It's so beautiful, and you would think that it would. And maybe what I mean is that I don't like the way I look when I wear it. I think maybe objectively to other people it would look fine. And actually I wore it for a photo shoot recently for one of our Poema photo shoots. And I sent Karen, my friend Karen Harris, she also has a YouTube channel. I sent her a picture of myself getting ready for the shoot because we were texting, and she was like, wow, that lip color is beautiful. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's objectively beautiful. And I just never like my look when I wear this color. The reason for that is that it is a very berry toned red. And the swatch looks very beautiful. The bullet looks really, really rich and beautiful. But when I put it on my lips, it looks pink, like magenta. And I think it's just because I have such a warm undertone and such a warm aspect. And in order for a red to look like this on my lips, it just has to be a lot less pink. It has to be a truer red, like a more brick red or a more orange red, a warmer red. If I put this on my lips, it looks like this. This is Nars Let's Go Crazy. It's like a magenta. This is really what this ends up looking like on me. So I love the formula. This is my only full-sized Amuse Bouche lipstick. I have been thinking all these years that I really, really love it, but then I rarely wear it, and whenever I do, I don't like the way it looks. So I've recently gotten some clarity on that, and I've recently learned that my sister, Ellie, has a very, very pink undertone, and she has the opposite problem from my problem when it comes to lipsticks. She needs a really, really cool toned berry lipstick in order for it to look red on her. If she wears my reds, they look orange on her. So I think that this will be an amazing go-to deep red lip for my sister, and I'm really excited about giving it to her. So that is it. It was just a light little declutter, a quick pass through all of my makeup with the intention of seeking out a handful of items that I will feel much happier about giving away than I would feel about keeping. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will remember to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.